Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching FoodCaster. I'm Michael, and today we have Sam Eats Plants. That's right,
Hi,
FoodCaster.
everybody.
Yeah! FoodCaster, everything about having a relationship with food, different topics in food and how food affects our lives. So, today's topic is water.
Yeah.
Seems pretty simple, pretty boring, right? Just water.
Um, it, our bodies are, I hear different percentages, but somewhere between like 75 and 85% of our bodies water.
Oh, now they're saying 85?
That's what I've heard. The majority of our body is water, though.
Right.
The majority of plant food is water. All of them,
Right.
from fruits to greens. Like the majority is water.
Mhm.
So water is very important because that's a huge component of our bodies.
Right.
And then there's a few issues to think about when it comes to water. One is most of us don't drink enough water. We just don't. So one issue is just like creating cultural habits of abundant water drinking, right? There's another
I
issue.
drink juice, Sam. I
Yeah.
drink a lot of juice, Sam.
And
What's
so
up with that? That's
there's
liquid. Should be good enough.
The thought is, sure, that's a thought, but it's not the same. I've already had like so many conversations on this with individuals. There's water you do get from drinking juice, just like there's water you get from eating a tomato. There's water you get from eating watermelon. There's water you get from eating a salad, right? Because there's water in everything. It's still not the same. Those are very important, and it still does hydrate, but it's not like actually drinking water. We need to actually drink water.
Right.
The world, we are on the precipice of going into a fresh water crisis. This is the scary part. Now, we're not there yet,
Right.
but we have already hit like decades ago, it was unfathomable that you'd have to pay for water.
Yeah, it was a joke, actually. Even in television shows. Oh, in the future, people have to pay for water. That's
Yes.
impossible. And now the new joke is we'll have to pay for air.
Air, yes, which they started to bottle already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was Canadian air being exported to China.
Yeah.
But we're not talking about air. We're talking about water.
But we'll talk about water. We'll do that next. So yeah.
Okay.
Also, a lot
yeah.
of people on medications. You got to flush the system because a lot of those things, even though they're supposed to do they're also causing a lot of problems because people aren't flushing the bad parts of these mad scientist chemical things. But also, I heard from a doctor that if you don't drink enough water, in general, medications won't work or won't work effectively. And I thought about that. That does make sense because, you need to move things around. You have to have liquid to move all these things throughout your body to do what they're supposed to do. And I feel that doctors aren't really stressing the importance of drinking water when you're on prescribed medications.
I don't know what doctors are stressing or not because I've decided to not go to doctors. But our metabolic functions happen in the presence of H2O. So when you're dehydrated, these metabolic functions are either subpar or they don't really happen. So all the things you can think about through the endocrine system, through healing, through like getting a cut and like blood coagulation, everything happens in the presence of water. So if we don't have enough water and if we're dehydrated, and then of course there's obvious dehydration and then there's non-obvious dehydration. Most of us are walking around a little bit dehydrated.
Right.
Besides aesthetically, if you drink more water, you have less wrinkles. There's only that. And if vanity is what motivates you, there you go.
Yeah, all this makeup to make yourself look fresh, and
And
when you
water
could
will
just
do it.
just drink water.
Yeah,
Secret.
water will do it. I'm
Yeah.
like, no joke, for real. Anyone
Mm.
listening, I'm not even saying this because it's like, oh hell, if you can get yourself to drink like close to 2 liters of water, or if we're talking about ounces, like at least over 60 ounces a day, and you weren't doing it before, you will see a tremendous difference in your skin in a matter of days.
And that's about how many cups? Is that like 12 cups, 15 cups?
No, well, maybe. Well, if a cup is 8 ounces, because that's how they kind of judge a cup, then it's like 8 to 12, if that's how people want to think. Or you can think about it as like, because people drink soda. I don't drink soda, but people drink soda. You can look at it as like, the 2 liter bottle of soda is less than that. Like, just it's less liquid than that.
So if you can do that, even better.
So if you can even do the 2 liters soda bottle amount,
right,
that's amazing. And then of course some of these like super gym people, like they walk around with their gallons. All right, bro. Okay. But still they're benefiting, and they do need it more. Like if you're someone who just works out more and you do more, you need more anyway.
Right.
The water is very important, but we need to really address our own human behavior to keep the potable water that is on the planet from diminishing. So now, out of all the water on the planet, which is tons, lots of water on the planet, but 97% of the water on the planet is not potable for us to drink. It's like seawater, ocean water, so it's salt water. Drinking salt water does not promote health for us. It has to be fresh water. And now a lot of our fresh water systems are over-tapped because of our food meat industry. So raising animals to eat globally is a huge strain on our fresh water supply.
Right. They use a lot of water to raise the animals and to feed the animals.
To have a very obnoxious and abnormal amount of, I would say the word farm animals, because there's all types of animals on the planet, but the amount of cattle and fowl that exist on the planet that are being raised for us to eat is an incredibly unusual high number than what would naturally have been running around on the planet, let's say 200 years ago. They outnumber us. And we have a lot of humans. And we have like 7 billion, almost 8 billion humans. And they outnumber.
Is it fair to say, well, supply and demand, there's more people on the planet, so companies need to provide, as the argument, right? They need to provide more animals to feed people.
Yeah, the idea is that, except that outside of America and maybe England and some South American countries, specifically Brazil and Argentina, maybe Chile, the globalists really eat a lot of meat. We eat a lot of meat, but the world doesn't. So the vast majority of this is just feeding us. Also, there are more and more people not eating meat, but because of how the economies of agriculture and food businesses are run, it's not affecting what they produce. So meat consumption has been going down fairly consistently, not extravagantly, but fairly consistent since like maybe 2002. It has been going down, but it has not changed the amount of meat being produced because we, at least in the United States, we subsidize our meat stuff. So whatever money they're not making, more of our tax dollars go for them to just keep doing what they're doing. It's actually not changing. We'd have to actually change the scale of how we economize.
So, but if there's a harder hit, so if it's close, I can see that. So if it's close, let's say a 5% difference, we could fudge the numbers, we could get people. But if it cuts like in half, they can't do it. Like something will have to change.
I think you're right. I think if it's drastic enough, our government will have to say no. But remember, a lot of the heads of the like egg and pork industry do make our laws.
Right.
So
Mandatory chicken,
yeah,
bacon,
it's tricky.
cow sandwiches at lunch for the kiddies.
They want to survive. They want to keep
Right.
making money, and they don't feel like trying to change their model. Some do. There's a whole dairy company, Elmhurst, that changed completely plant-based because they just saw like, future-wise, we probably won't really make money anymore. We should just change our whole outfit, and they did. And that can happen, but right now it's really not happening fast enough, and it's not changing anything.
Well, also look at it like you could always, and then no, they do this. It's like, well, let's take all this extra whatever it is and put it into schools. Take all this extra whatever it is. Well, we'll ship that food to the military. Take whatever extra. So they have all these avenues they could randomly get rid of things and say we could justify supporting the system. But if more and more people in the military are saying, I'm vegan, I don't want this. You need to provide for me, meals that I want to eat. If more schools say, yes, we're a public school, but we have a good percentage of kids that, and then just go on and on, it'll hit. They'll have to make some changes.
It has to be massive. I think you're right. If it is massive, it will change, but it would have to be, and we're not there yet. The change is slow enough where they're easy to adjust right now. Like I said, every year less people are consuming meat, but it's so minimal that they're just getting more of our tax dollars, and that's it. I've been hoping that they're going to maybe produce less cows and produce less fowl, but they're not.
How much water could be saved if we just cut back?
Oh my God. You don't even understand. I can't even tell you the numbers because I don't know them off my head. I've just seen them many random times. I'm talking about billions of gallons in a day, billions. Yeah.
To the point, can water be free again? And I don't mean yes. I mean, obviously there's going to be companies that have bottled water, but
yeah,
when I look at specifically America, right? And the things that we pay for, there shouldn't be a water bill.
No, there shouldn't be a water bill.
There shouldn't be a water bill. There shouldn't be a water bill. There shouldn't be an elected. In fact, utilities all should be free.
Yes,
and
they
as a
are
nation.
in some countries.
Right.
They are in some countries because they understand that this is it's the idea of what
the internet's free in many countries.
Exactly. It's the idea of what people decide are just basic for their constituents. Here, though, the only thing basic, what do we get for free here?
To be able to talk.
Education.
We get to talk.
Yeah.
You can say whatever you want. That's it. And education's not free because you're being taxed, but...
No, but that's the thing, though. A lot of those things that you were just talking about that are free in other countries are taxes.
Yeah, they are taxes.
So that's fine. That's fine.
That's
fine. To me, that's fine.
But you're not paying extra. You're not being taxed and then also getting a bill every other month, or every month, right?
The work you're doing is so that you don't have to stress yourself thinking about basic things that you need on a day-to-day to survive.
Right.
That's where you're being taxed.
But we can do this.
We
have
possible.
The wealth.
We have the everything. We have the everything to do it. It is political will, and also educating the population of our country enough to understand this is possible and better for you. Because if people don't think that, they don't fight for it. And one of the things we're not really veering off water, but this is important to really understand how we could perverse the business of clean water in our country so terribly. America is so huge and so cut off from everything except like Mexico, Canada, and like the Caribbean, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when people travel, a lot of times we travel intra-country. Like we travel to Florida, to
Right.
California. We do our vacations inside the country. And every now and then, some people vacation in the Caribbean. And they usually go to resorts,
Right.
right? Most Americans go to resorts because that's what they do in countries that they don't understand. Ooh, I just realized my apartment finally turned on the heat. All right. So basically, there's a lack of exposure of how other people actually live. And the only way you're consuming how the people live is through maybe news and like learning in a very more plastic way instead of a real way. A lot of Americans don't have foreign friends unless you're from one of these cosmopolitan cities where a lot of foreigners either live or go to school, or you travel to other countries and have spent significant time there. So one of the issues to try to really get the idea of how water should be free and other basic things that I believe should be free that are not free is you need to expose yourself to individuals and countries that almost take it for granted.
Right.
And understand that this is possible in a very safe and happy and healthy way. That is what I feel a lot is missing here. And when I see certain conversations going on, not so much in New York, because New York, there's enough diversity that I don't want to hear so much here. Right. But I definitely used to live in Florida, and I also used to live in Georgia. There's a complete lack of understanding how good life can actually be lived in a, I won't even say simpler way, because most of us live very simply, but we have this idea that we're not, or that we're more extravagant than we are. And so that is what required to really try to shift how we can look at the water systems. If we get enough people to understand, let's really drastically get off this meat stuff, then we get into our local politicians and then our Congress people to be like, listen, we're going to have a water crisis very soon. They know it. Our politicians already know that. They just don't spread it to us.
And what does that look like? Because, I mean, I've heard people talk about it, but, okay, water crisis, does that mean there's no water coming out the faucet, no more showers? So, what does that mean?
What that means is it's going to get in our faucets, it's already happened. Dirtier and more contaminated water is going to be coming. It's just not going to be, it's not going to be clean. It's not going to be potable. This is not just Flint, Michigan. For whatever reason, Flint, it was the city that got to be the poster child. It's all over the country. It's Boston. People don't even know that. Boston had a boil water ordinance for years.
Wow.
Okay?
Wow.
It's Boston. It's like certain towns in Texas. It's a bunch of places. So one, that's already happening. Some of us, because most people live on the outer coast, and so a lot more attention is given to the outer coast. So we don't feel that that's happening. It's happening. That's one. That's already there. The other part of water crisis, what it will look like, is wars. So right now, there are no water wars. We still just do wars for oil, right? Still. When we look at the areas with the most fresh water supply, like natural fresh water supply, it's Canada and Russia. So I don't know what that will mean for, let's say, the United States or other countries, but I can imagine there's something's going to start happening. And there might be in time, like in like 20 years, if we don't get our act together, a huge influx of Americans running for Canada. I see that. I see that. Maybe not 20, maybe 30, but it actually might just be 20. If we don't get our act together, if we don't get educated, if we don't get, focus and have like a strategy.
Why not
the
Russia?
Other, say it again?
Why not run to Russia?
Because it's so far. You'd have to have the money and a connection. Because the thing with Canada is, like, I think enough of us could know a Canadian. We could have a setup, so it's easier to run to Canada.
Yeah, it is. Literally.
Literally. I mean, if people need a good, literally. And if people want a visual example, I'm only saying this for a visual example, is like, it's the same how people think about Mexicans coming to the United States. Like, why don't they go to Russia? Why don't they go to Bolivia, right? Because it's easier to come here. It's quicker. And there's more methods of getting here. Train,
and
plane.
opportunities once you get there to survive.
Yes, yeah, but there's other countries that are like amazing. Like Costa Rica is amazing, sure. But it's like it's way further. It's in the mountains, like, and you'd have to. There's all these other things. So it's the same thing with us. We will be running to Canada. Most of us will not be running to Russia because we don't have a setup in Russia, but we could have a setup in Canada, right? But back to what also is going on right now with water is bottled water is becoming more expensive now. And so we're going to find that there's going to be people, the stuff that we always look at African nations about, we look at certain areas, Sierra Leone in particular, I'm thinking about Gambia, where it's like you're either drinking incredibly dirty water or you're rich and you can just buy and ship clean water to you. We are really on the precipice of that happening because there's already communities that don't have clean water coming out of their taps.
Wow.
And some of them cannot.
If there's war or any kind of disruption with shipping, a lot of those rich people won't get water either.
So COVID, now some people may or may not know, I run a restaurant, right? Mm-hmm. COVID has completely messed up and has still messed up supply in getting things. You can't even understand it. I've seen articles on news channels about this with other stuff, and I'm like, oh my gosh, yeah, I've been going through this. Like, we have tofu, we don't have tofu. We have tofu, we don't. Oh, we have bread, we don't have bread. Like, this stuff never happened before COVID. Liquor too. It's like, we don't have this liquor, we don't have this liquor, we don't have this liquor. And these are like big name liquors. And then all of a sudden, there's all these liquors I'd never heard of that like, okay, but we have this. Like, where's this even coming from? There's so many times we've had to just take things off our menu because our suppliers do not have them and won't have them for like weeks. Mushrooms even. And we're having an issue just getting shiitake mushrooms. So it's already happening. Wow. It's already happening. The supply is going.
Okay, it's been how many months since the pandemic started? People are going back to work. Things are moving. It seems like everything's going in the right direction. No.
Supply-wise, at least what I'm seeing in this restaurant, it hasn't gotten better. And I'm trying to figure out why, because people are doing things. And I don't really understand that economy of scale. So I don't.
Well, I see it in the automotive industry.
Yes, like the automotive industry is ridiculous. They can't make cars. They can't make enough cars because they're missing certain things. And it doesn't matter that people are kind of doing things now. Like, stuff is changing. And
it's crazy because I know we started out with, boring water, but it's not that boring because everything connects. It's like this big, what do they call it, snowball effect where it keeps growing and all these things are connected. And it is getting kind of...
And the thing what people really need to understand, and like the business that I do nutrition counseling under, I call it symbiotic health for a reason, because of the notion that everything does affect everything. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how much we really understand that. Mm-hmm. Everything affects everything. One of the phrases that hit me, and I like to repeat till we understand how important it is that how we look at fresh water that we can drink, is all the water in the world is all the water in the world. So what we have, we need to protect, and there's a filtration system built in with nature. You drink water, you urinate, whatever, the animals do this, it goes into the ground, it creates fruit, the trees create this and that, it would bring the rain. And we have this whole system set up where we can consume things, drink water, it gets cleaned out, it's back in the atmosphere, and we drink water again.
People don't... Pause what you just said, because right there is so important. People think that it's just magical, more rain. Like, it's the cycle. It's a cycle.
It's a cycle.
Yeah.
So even what you just said, the idea that people think is just like, oh yeah, more rain will come, so water will come. No, when we make concrete parking lots, when we concrete over that Joni Mitchell song, paved paradise, put up a parking lot.
Yeah.
When we create concrete over dirt, you just take away the opportunity for water to come out from the dirt and come into the atmosphere. Now it's concrete. So now in concrete, when it rains, it's not going into the soil. It just stays on concrete till it like evaporates. So it's missing a critical tool of like making like plants and grass and blah blah blah, and then the oxygen that comes from the grass. We don't even understand. Like the more we pay, the less water will happen. Rains become less because it's a cycle. It's a cycle. They get it from the dirt evaporation. So it gets all messed up.
Wow.
One of the reasons why there's such a drought situation in the American Southwest, like Southern California and Arizona, New Mexico, Nevada, things like that, is because of exactly what I'm just talking about. It is paving over natural places, and that are there. It's already desert. That place was already desert, but it's drying up so quickly because it's already a desert, and we're here doing our regular human thing in that area, and it's like, and it's getting terrible. Like, so what's going to happen in that place? And that's going to happen soon. And I don't know, it might already be happening. I have some people in Arizona. There's going to be time that they're going to turn off the water, and they're going to tell you, all right, we're going to turn off the water from like probably 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., a time when people usually are sleeping. They're going to turn off the water because they have to figure out ways to preserve whatever water they have.
And I don't want us to leave this conversation without talking about the ice caps, because the ice caps are melting. Is that a plus or is that a minus?
All the water in the world is all the water in the world. It doesn't change how much water is here. It's I don't know, because a lot of other things will happen as a melt that it will be very disastrous and will displace people and will increase refugees everywhere. Right?
Flooding.
And destroy.
Flooding is one. Disease, because diseases that might have been around since the Black Plague. You know, when things get in the air, get trapped, and they get stuck there. I think, what was it?
Because viruses don't die.
Right.
People need to remember, viruses don't die. They're like energy. It can't be created or destroyed. So viruses can just be preserved in ice forever. Some of this bacteria will die. Like if it's preserved in the ice and then it melts, it can die because the bacteria can die, but viruses don't die. So we're going to be exposed to things that we don't even know we're going to be exposed to. Where it comes to water is, I don't really know how much that's going to affect us, because like I said, all the water in the world is all the water in the world. The biggest things that we can do in terms of this water preservation and staving off this water crisis and wars for water that will happen in a few decades is to stop eating meat and then buying our government to stop subsidizing those companies so they can stop creating more farm animals, because that preserves the most water. And then outside of that is to start looking at grass and lawns differently. We should be raising food on our lawns and not grass. It's a waste of our space. That will also help our whole ecology.
Let's do it. All right, folks. So you're watching FoodCaster. Everything having to do with food, having a relationship with food. This is some deep stuff. So water's not that boring. Sam, give us everybody your social media.
You can find me at SamEatsPlants_ on Instagram and ask me anything.
Cool. And I'm Michael7Michael on IG. You could also go to FoodCaster_. And keep watching us on cable. Keep watching us online. Any questions, comments, please do that. We like the feedback, and any topics you want us to talk about, let us know. All right, Sam. What I'm going to do right now is drink some water.
I should too. I drank a little red. I should drink some more.
Take care, guys.